Thank you all so much for your incredible support. Every time I see your comments pop up, it absolutely makes my day. Your consistent engagement and the way you keep coming back for more content means the world to me. I'd love to know more about the amazing community we're building here. Your support allows me to keep creating content I'm passionate about, and I'm genuinely grateful for each and every one of you. Can't wait to see where you're all watching from. She couldn't keep her eyes open any longer. The weight of 3 consecutive double shifts pressed down on her shoulders like concrete blocks. The luxury suite she was cleaning, the penthouse of the prestigious Hotel Monarch, seemed to stretch endlessly before her tired eyes. Lily had been working for nearly 20 hours straight, covering for 2 other maids who had called in sick. Her fingers were raw from scrubbing, her back ached from bending over countless bathtubs and toilets, and her feet felt like they were walking on broken glass with each step. The bed looked so inviting. The pristine white sheets, pulled tight across the king-sized mattress, seemed to call to her. Just 5 minutes, she thought. 5 minutes to rest her eyes before finishing the room. The guest wasn't scheduled to arrive for another hour, according to the front desk. Lily glanced at her watch, 2:45 p.m. The new guest would arrive around 4 p.m. Just 5 minutes to recharge, then she would finish the bathroom and be on her way. Lily sat on the edge of the bed, careful not to wrinkle the perfect sheets too much. She just needed to catch her breath. The room was spinning slightly from her exhaustion. She leaned back just for a moment just to stop the spinning. The pillows were so soft under her head, cradling her like clouds. Before she could fight it, her eyelids drooped and the world faded away as sleep claimed her, still in her maid's uniform, on top of the pristine covers of the penthouse suite's massive bed. She didn't hear the elevator doors opening directly into the suite. She didn't hear the quiet footsteps crossing the marble entryway. She didn't hear the surprised intake of breath when someone discovered her there, fast asleep on the bed she was supposed to be preparing. James Reed wasn't used to finding sleeping women in his hotel rooms. As the owner of a global tech empire and one of the richest men in the country, he was accustomed to perfect service, perfect rooms, and perfect privacy. The last thing he expected when entering his usual penthouse suite at the Hotel Monarch was to find a maid sound asleep on his bed. His first instinct was annoyance. He had just flown in from Tokyo, a 14-hour flight that left him irritable and craving the silence and comfort of his favorite hotel suite. Finding someone in his space was not how he wanted to start his stay. But something about the scene before him made him pause. The woman was clearly exhausted beyond measure. Her uniform was rumpled, and even in sleep, her face showed signs of stress. Dark circles hung beneath her eyes, and her hands were red and chapped. She wasn't sleeping like someone lazy or careless. She was sleeping like someone who had pushed herself past her breaking point. James set down his briefcase quietly. He should call the front desk. He should report this clear violation of hotel policy. But something stopped him. Maybe it was the 14-hour flight making him sentimental, or maybe it was the rare glimpse into a life so different from his own, but he found himself unable to be angry. Instead, he backed away slowly and took a seat in the suite's living room. He pulled out his phone and sent a quick message to his assistant to delay his next meeting by an hour. Then, against all his usual habits and instincts, he decided to let her sleep. Lily dreamed of falling. It was a common dream for her, falling through open space with nothing to grab onto. In her dream, she reached desperately for something solid, anything to stop her descent. Her fingers brushed against fabric, then clutched it tightly. The jolt of grabbing something real in her dream woke her with a start. Her eyes flew open to an unfamiliar ceiling. For a moment, confusion clouded her mind. This wasn't her tiny apartment with the water stains on the ceiling. Then reality crashed in. The hotel. The penthouse suite. The bed she had only meant to sit on for a moment. Lily bolted upright, heart hammering in her chest. The room was dimly lit now, the afternoon sun lower in the sky. How long had she been asleep? She glanced frantically at her watch, 4:30 p.m. She had slept for almost 2 hours. Horror washed over her as she realized the guest must have arrived by now. "Oh no, no, no," she whispered, scrambling off the bed. She smoothed the wrinkled covers frantically with shaking hands. This was it. She was going to lose her job. How could she have been so careless? "Don't worry about that," a deep voice came from across the room, nearly stopping her heart. Lily spun around to see a man sitting in an armchair in the corner of the bedroom. Tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair and eyes that seemed to look straight through her. She recognized him immediately from the photos in the hotel lobby. James Reed, tech billionaire and owner of Reed Enterprises. Also, clearly, the guest whose room she had fallen asleep in. "I'm so sorry, sir," she stammered, backing away, clutching her cleaning cart handle like a lifeline. I don't know what happened. I just sat down for a moment and I'll leave right away. Please don't report this to management. I really need this job. James studied her for a moment, his expression unreadable. How long have you been working today? He asked instead of answering her plea. Lily blinked, confused by the question. About 20 hours, sir. We were short-staffed and I took extra shifts. 20 hours, he repeated, his eyebrows rising slightly. And they assigned you the penthouse as your last room? I volunteered, sir, she admitted. The penthouse pays a bonus and I need the money. James stood up and Lily tensed, preparing for the worst. Instead, he walked to the desk across the room and picked up the hotel phone. This is James Reed in the penthouse, he said into the receiver. I'd like to speak with the hotel manager immediately. Lily felt sick. This was it. She was about to be fired, possibly even escorted out by security. She would lose her apartment, fall behind on her mother's medical bills, everything she had worked so hard for, gone because she couldn't keep her eyes open. Yes, hello, James continued into the phone. I want to discuss your staff scheduling policies. I've just learned you have employees working 20-hour shifts. That's unacceptable and possibly illegal. He paused, listening. No, I don't want anyone fired. What I want is a complete overhaul of your scheduling system, effective immediately. No employee should work more than 8 hours without proper breaks and rest periods. Another pause. Yes, I expect a full proposal on my desk tomorrow morning. Thank you. He hung up the phone and turned back to Lily, whose mouth had fallen open in shock. Thank you, she managed to say, still gripping her cart. But why would you do that? James looked at her thoughtfully. Everyone deserves dignity in their work. Now, what's your name? Lily, sir. Lily Chin. Well, Lily Chin, he said, a small smile finally crossing his face, I think you've cleaned enough rooms for today. Go home and get some proper rest. The next morning, Lily arrived at work with dread pooling in her stomach. Despite Mr. Reed's surprising reaction to finding her asleep in his room, she wasn't naive enough to believe there wouldn't be consequences. She had violated the most basic rule of hotel service: never inconvenience the guests, especially not the VIPs. As she clocked in, her supervisor, Mrs. Patel, approached with a serious expression. Lily, the manager wants to see you in his office immediately. Lily's heart sank. This was it. She followed Mrs. Patel down the staff hallway, past the laundry rooms and storage closets, to the manager's office at the end. With each step, she rehearsed what she would say, how she would beg to keep her job. Mr. Dawson, the hotel manager, sat behind his desk, his expression unreadable. Please sit down, Miss Chin. Lily perched on the edge of the chair, hands folded tightly in her lap. Sir, about yesterday? Mr. Dawson held up a hand to stop her. Miss Chin, I've been reviewing our scheduling practices following a pointed conversation with Mr. Reed last night. He cleared his throat. It appears we've been pushing our staff too hard, especially you. Your time cards show you've been working double shifts regularly for the past 3 months. Lily nodded cautiously. I needed the extra money, sir. Well, that stops today, Mr. Dawson said firmly. New policy. No employee works more than 1 shift per day and everyone gets proper breaks. Mr. Reed was quite insistent about this. Lily blinked in surprise. So, I'm not fired. Mr. Dawson actually looked surprised. Fired? No, quite the opposite. Mr. Reed specifically mentioned your dedication. In fact, he shuffled through some papers on his desk. He's requested that you be assigned as his personal suite attendant during his stay. It's a special position with increased pay and reduced hours. You'll only be responsible for his suite, not a full floor of rooms. Lily couldn't believe what she was hearing. Not only was she not being fired, but she was being offered what amounted to a promotion. And all because she had fallen asleep in a billionaire's room. It seemed impossible. I don't understand, she admitted. Why would he ask for me? Mr. Dawson shrugged. Mr. Reed is one of our most valued guests. If he wants you as his suite attendant, that's what he gets. Report to the penthouse at noon today. His assistant will explain your new duties. Still stunned, Lily left the office and headed to the staff locker room to change into her uniform. Her friend Jen was there, tying her apron. Well, are you fired? Jen asked bluntly. No, Lily replied, still processing the news herself. I've been reassigned as Mr. Reed's personal suite attendant. Jen's eyes widened. The billionaire? The one who found you sleeping in his bed? And he asked for you personally? When Jen put it that way, it did sound strange. I guess he felt sorry for me, Lily said, pulling on her uniform. Or maybe he wants to keep an eye on me to make sure I don't fall asleep in his room again. Or maybe he liked what he saw, Jen suggested with a raised eyebrow. Lily felt her cheeks grow warm. Don't be ridiculous. Men like James Reed don't notice women like me. Men are men, Jen said with a shrug. Even billionaires. And you're pretty, Lily, even if you don't see it. Lily rolled her eyes and closed her locker. It's just a job assignment. Nothing more. But as she gathered her cleaning supplies and headed up to the penthouse, she couldn't help but wonder why James Reed had specifically asked for her. Yesterday he had seemed almost kind. Not at all like the cold, calculating businessman portrayed in the media. When the elevator doors opened directly into the penthouse suite, Lily hesitated before stepping out. The suite was silent. Perhaps Mr. Reed was out at meetings. That would make her first day easier. She could clean without worrying about disturbing him. She pushed her cart into the entrance hallway and began to work, starting with the living area. The suite was already relatively tidy. Mr. Reed seemed to be a neat guest. She dusted the surfaces, vacuumed the carpet, and was just about to start on the kitchenette when a door opened and James Reed himself emerged from the office area. He was dressed casually in jeans and a simple gray t-shirt that did little to hide his athletic build, a sharp contrast to the immaculate suit he'd worn yesterday. Without the formal business attire, he looked younger, more approachable. His dark hair was slightly rumpled, as if he'd been running his hands through it while working. "Good afternoon, Lily," he said, as if it were perfectly normal to remember the name of a hotel maid he'd met only briefly. "Good afternoon, Mr. Reed," she replied formally, trying to maintain professional distance. "I'll try to be quick so I don't disturb you." He waved a hand dismissively. "You're not disturbing me. I requested you, remember?" Lily nodded, still confused by that fact. "May I ask why, sir?" James studied her for a moment, those intense eyes seeming to look straight into her soul. "Honesty," he finally said. "Do you know how rare that is in my world? Everyone wants something from me. Everyone puts on a show. But you were just yourself. Exhausted, overworked, honest." Lily wasn't sure how to respond to that. Being found asleep on the job wasn't exactly her proudest moment. "Plus," he continued with a small smile, "anyone who works 20 hours straight deserves recognition, not punishment." "Thank you for not reporting me," Lily said. "This job means a lot to me." "May I ask why?" he inquired, leaning against the doorframe. "Why push yourself so hard?" Lily hesitated. She wasn't used to guests taking an interest in her life. But something about his direct gaze made her want to answer honestly. "My mother is sick," she explained simply. "Her treatments are expensive, and I'm helping my younger brother through college too. The extra shifts made it possible to cover everything." James nodded, his expression thoughtful. "And now that you can't work double shifts?" "I'll figure something out," Lily said with more confidence than she felt. "I always do." "I'm sure you will," he agreed, and there was something like respect in his voice. "But for now you're assigned just to this suite, correct?" "Yes, sir." "Then take your time. There's no rush." He gestured to the kitchenette. "There's coffee and food if you'd like some. I'm heading out to meetings for a few hours, so the place is yours." Before Lily could protest that it wouldn't be appropriate for her to eat a guest's food, he had grabbed a jacket and was heading for the elevator. "Oh, and Lily," he said, pausing at the elevator doors, "I left something for you on the dining table. Consider it an apology for the scheduling issues you've had to deal with." With that, he was gone, leaving Lily standing alone in the massive penthouse suite. Curiosity got the better of her, and she approached the dining table. There, in a simple envelope with her name written on it, was a check for more money than she made in 3 months. Lily stared at it in disbelief. This had to be a mistake. No one just gave away money like this, especially not to someone they'd just met. She couldn't possibly accept it. But as she slipped the check into her pocket, intending to return it when Mr. Reed came back, she couldn't help the warm feeling spreading through her chest. For the first time in months, she might be able to pay her mother's medical bills without worrying about making rent. As she continued cleaning the suite, Lily found herself paying more attention to the personal details. The books on the nightstand, biographies and historical novels, not business books as she might have expected. The simple black coffee mug left on the desk, the lack of personal photos. For someone so wealthy and powerful, James Reed seemed to live a surprisingly Spartan existence. It made her wonder about the man behind the billions. What kind of person was he, really? And why did he seem so interested in her, of all people? 3 days into her new assignment as James Reed's personal suite attendant, Lily was still trying to make sense of the situation. The job itself was straightforward. Keep the penthouse immaculate, restock the amenities, and ensure everything was perfect. The strange part was Mr. Reed himself. Unlike other wealthy guests Lily had encountered during her 2 years at Hotel Monarch, James Reed was unfailingly polite. He learned the names of all the staff members. He never left his clothes strewn about the room for others to pick up. And most puzzling of all, he seemed genuinely interested in Lily. Not in a way that made her uncomfortable, there was nothing inappropriate about his behavior. But he asked questions about her life, her family, her dreams. Real questions that required real answers, not the polite small talk she was accustomed to from guests who barely looked at her. "How's your mother doing?" he asked on the third day as Lily was replacing the towels in the master bathroom. He was seated at the dining table with his laptop, apparently working from the suite that morning. Lily paused, still surprised each time he remembered details about her life. "She's stable," she answered honestly. "The new medication seems to be helping with the pain." James nodded, his expression thoughtful. "And your brother? He's in college, right?" "Yes, studying engineering at the State University," Lily replied, a note of pride creeping into her voice despite her attempts to maintain professional distance. "He's very smart. Got a partial scholarship." "And you?" James asked, closing his laptop to give her his full attention. "Did you ever want to go to college?" The question caught her off guard. Most people didn't ask maids about their educational aspirations. "I did," she admitted. "I was accepted to study literature, but then my mom got sick and—" She trailed off with a small shrug. "Life happens." "Life happens," James repeated thoughtfully. "Yes, it certainly does." He seemed about to say something else when his phone rang. He glanced at it with a frown. "I have to take this. Business never sleeps, unfortunately." As he answered the call and walked into the office area of the suite, Lily continued with her work, trying not to dwell on their conversation. It wasn't healthy to read too much into a wealthy man's casual interest. People like James Reed lived in a different world, one where they could afford to be generous and kind without it meaning anything deeper. Still, she couldn't help but notice things about him. The way his forehead creased when he was concentrating on work. How he always thanked the room service staff by name when they delivered meals. The fact that despite having access to the most expensive restaurants in the city, he often ordered simple comfort food, burgers, pizza, or Chinese takeout. None of it aligned with the public image of James Reed, the ruthless tech mogul who had built a fortune by outmaneuvering his competitors at every turn. Later that afternoon, as Lily was finishing up for the day, James returned from a business meeting. He looked tired, the lines around his eyes more prominent than usual. "Long day?" Lily asked before she could stop herself. It wasn't her place to comment on a guest's appearance. But James just smiled ruefully. "The longest? Board meetings always drain me. 20 people talking in circles for 6 hours, and in the end, we make the same decision we could have made in 20 minutes. He loosened his tie and collapsed onto the sofa, running a hand through his hair. The gesture seemed so human, so normal, that Lily momentarily forgot who he was. "I'm making some coffee before I leave," she found herself saying. "Would you like some?" James looked up, surprise flickering across his face before he smiled. "That would be amazing, thank you." As Lily prepared the coffee in the suite's kitchenette, she wondered what she was doing. This was beyond her duties as a suite attendant. But something about James Reed made her want to offer this small kindness. She brought him a mug of black coffee, remembering from the past few days that was how he took it. "No cream or sugar, right?" she asked, setting it down on the coffee table in front of him. James looked genuinely touched that she had noticed. "Perfect. Thank you, Lily." She should have left then, but instead, she hesitated. "Can I ask you something, Mr. Reed?" "James," he corrected. "Please call me James when we're not around other hotel staff." "James?" she repeated, the name feeling strange on her tongue. "Why did you really request me as your suite attendant? It can't just be because I fell asleep in your room." He took a sip of coffee before answering, considering her question carefully. "When I found you asleep that day," he finally said, "it was like seeing a crack in the perfect veneer of this place. Everyone here works so hard to create an illusion of effortless luxury, but you reminded me there are real people behind that illusion. People working 20-hour shifts to make ends meet." He paused, looking down at his coffee. "In my position it's easy to forget that. To get lost in numbers and profit margins and forget the human cost. You reminded me." Lily hadn't expected such an honest answer. It made her see him differently, not just as a billionaire who happened to be kind, but as a person wrestling with the implications of his own privilege. "Plus," he added with a small smile, You're the only person in this hotel who doesn't treat me like I might explode if the towels aren't folded perfectly. That made Lily laugh, breaking the serious moment. Well, the way some of our wealthy guests behave, can you blame them? I suppose not, James conceded, his eyes crinkling at the corners when he smiled. The ultra-rich can be particularly demanding. Present company excluded? Lily teased before she could think better of it. To her relief, James laughed. I hope so, but you'd have to ask my staff. I try not to be the nightmare boss, but I'm sure I have my moments. Their conversation was interrupted by James's phone ringing again. He glanced at it and sighed. Tokyo calling. I have to take this. Lily nodded, gathering her cleaning supplies. I should head out anyway. My shift ended 10 minutes ago. Thank you for the coffee, James said sincerely. And the conversation. Both were exactly what I needed today. As Lily rode the service elevator down to the staff area, she tried to make sense of what was happening. Was she becoming friends with James Reed? Was that even possible, given the vast gulf between their worlds? And why did her heart beat a little faster every time he smiled at her? Don't be stupid, she told herself firmly. He's being nice because he can afford to be. Men like him don't fall for women like you. But despite her self-admonishment, she couldn't help the small flutter of hope that bloomed in her chest. For the first time in years, she found herself looking forward to going to work the next day. A week into James's stay at Hotel Monarch, something had changed between them. Their conversations had grown longer, more personal. The professional distance Lily tried to maintain kept slipping away, replaced by a comfort and ease that both thrilled and terrified her. It was inappropriate, she knew. He was a guest and she was staff. There were boundaries that shouldn't be crossed, policies designed to protect both parties. But each day those boundaries seemed less important than the connection forming between them. What are you reading? James asked one afternoon, entering the suite as Lily was dusting the bookshelves. She had finished her cleaning tasks early and had picked up one of the books from his collection, a worn copy of To Kill a Mockingbird. Lily quickly put the book back, embarrassed to be caught touching his belongings for non-work purposes. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have. No, please, James interrupted, coming to stand beside her at the bookshelf. I'm glad to see someone appreciating these. Most people think I'm odd for traveling with physical books when I could just use a tablet. There's something special about holding a real book, Lily said, relaxing slightly when she realized he wasn't upset. The weight of it, the smell of the pages. You can't get that from a screen. James smiled, a genuine smile that reached his eyes. Exactly. I thought I was the only one who felt that way. He pulled the book from the shelf and handed it back to her. This is one of my favorites. Have you read it? In high school, Lily admitted, taking the book carefully. But it's been years. Take it, James offered. Consider it on loan. Lily hesitated. I couldn't. What if something happened to it? Then I'd buy another copy, he said simply. Books are meant to be read, Lily, not preserved behind glass. Take it. Please. The way he said please made it impossible to refuse. Lily slipped the book into her work bag, oddly touched by the gesture. Thank you. I'll take good care of it. I know you will. Their eyes met, and for a moment neither spoke. There was something in James's gaze, a warmth and interest, that made Lily's breath catch. The moment was broken by a knock at the door. Room service with James's lunch order. As the week progressed, these moments of connection kept happening. They discovered a shared love of old movies, a common dislike of pretentious food, and surprisingly similar tastes in music. Each little revelation felt significant, like pieces of a puzzle slowly coming together. On Friday, Lily arrived at work to find a note from Mr. Dawson, the hotel manager. James had requested that she join him for lunch in the suite to discuss personalized service improvements. It was phrased professionally enough that no one could object, but Lily understood the subtext. James wanted to have lunch with her. When she arrived at the penthouse at noon, James had already set the dining table with a spread from the hotel's five-star restaurant. There were sandwiches, salads, soups, and an array of desserts, far too much food for two people. I wasn't sure what you liked, James explained somewhat sheepishly when he saw her eyeing the abundance of food. So I ordered a bit of everything. This is... Lily shook her head, overwhelmed. This is too much, James. I can't have lunch with a guest. It's against hotel policy. Actually, it's not, James countered. I checked. There's no policy against staff members joining guests for meals when invited, especially if it's for the purpose of discussing service improvements. His eyes twinkled with mischief. And I have many service improvements to discuss. Lily couldn't help but laugh at his transparent excuse. You are impossible. So I've been told, he agreed cheerfully. Now, will you please sit down and help me eat this ridiculous amount of food? Otherwise, it's going to waste and then you'll have to live with that on your conscience. Put that way, how could she refuse? Lily sat down across from him, still feeling like she was breaking some unwritten rule. But as they began to eat and talk, her discomfort faded. It was surprisingly easy to be with James. He listened when she spoke, really listened, as if her thoughts and opinions mattered just as much as those of his business associates. Tell me about your dreams, he said as they were finishing their meal. If money and circumstances weren't an issue, what would you do with your life? It was a question Lily hadn't allowed herself to consider in years. Dreams were luxury items she couldn't afford. I would go back to school, she said after a moment's thought. Finish my degree in literature. Maybe become a teacher. Why teaching? James asked, genuinely curious. Lily thought about it. Because books saved me when my life was falling apart. After my dad died and mom got sick, books were my escape, my comfort. I'd like to share that with others, especially kids who might need that same escape. James nodded, his expression thoughtful. That's a beautiful goal. And entirely achievable. Maybe someday, Lily said with a small shrug. When my mom is better and my brother finishes school. Why wait? James asked. There are night classes, online programs. Because I need to work, Lily interrupted gently. Bills don't pay themselves and my mother's medication isn't getting any cheaper. James fell silent, and Lily immediately regretted her tone. I'm sorry that came out harsher than I intended. I know you're just trying to be helpful. No, you're right, James said. It's easy for me to suggest solutions without understanding the constraints. I apologize. His humility surprised her. Most wealthy people she'd encountered were quick to offer advice but slow to acknowledge their privileged perspective. What about you? Lily asked, changing the subject. You've achieved more than most people dream of by, what, 35? 33, James corrected with a small smile. And from the outside it probably looks like I have everything anyone could want. But, Lily prompted, sensing the unspoken continuation. James hesitated as if debating how honest to be. But success isn't the same as fulfillment, he finally said. I built Reed Enterprises because I wanted to create something meaningful, something that would improve people's lives through technology. Somewhere along the way, it became about growth targets and shareholder value and market dominance. He looked out the window at the city skyline. Most days I feel like I'm running on a hamster wheel that keeps getting faster. More meetings, more decisions, more responsibility, but less connection to what made me passionate about my work in the first place. Lily had never heard him speak so candidly about his life. The media portrayed James Reed as a visionary, a business genius who had built a tech empire through sheer brilliance and determination. They never mentioned the toll it might take on the man himself. What would make you feel fulfilled? She asked softly. James turned back to her, his expression vulnerable in a way she hadn't seen before. Honestly? I'm not sure anymore. That's part of why I take these solo trips away from headquarters. I'm trying to remember who I am outside of Reed Enterprises. And, are you finding answers? A slow smile spread across his face. I'm starting to. Being here talking with you, it helps. You see me as a person, not as a walking stock price. The way he looked at her made Lily's heart beat faster. There was gratitude in his eyes, yes, but something more, something that made her both hopeful and afraid. I should get back to work, she said, standing up and gathering the empty plates. Thank you for lunch. It was nice. Leave those, James said, gesturing to the dishes. That's what room service is for. And thank you for joining me. Perhaps we could make this a regular thing while I'm here? Strictly to discuss service improvements, of course. His eyes crinkled with humor. Lily knew she should say no. Spending more time with James would only deepen feelings that could go nowhere. The Billionaire and the Maid, it was the stuff of cheesy romance novels, not real life. But looking at him, seeing the genuine hope in his expression, she found herself nodding. I'd like that. As she left the suite, Lily tried to tell herself she was being practical. If the hotel's most important guest requested her presence for lunch, refusing would be career suicide. But deep down she knew the truth. She was falling for James Reed against all logic and reason. And the most terrifying part? From the way he looked at her, the way he sought out her company, she was beginning to wonder if he might be falling for her too. 2 weeks into James's stay at Hotel Monarch, rumors began to circulate among the staff. The housekeeping manager had noticed that Lily's cleaning of the penthouse suite took significantly longer than standard protocol suggested. The room service staff had reported delivering meals for two to the penthouse when Mr. Reed was dining alone. And most damning of all, Lily had been seen leaving the hotel wearing a dress James had complimented the day before. "People are talking," Jen warned Lily in the staff locker room. "Mrs. Patel is asking questions about what exactly you do up there all day." Lily's cheeks flushed with a mix of embarrassment and indignation. "We talk, that's all. He asks my opinion about books and movies. Sometimes we have lunch while discussing hotel services." Jen raised an eyebrow skeptically. "And the dress?" "He mentioned it looked nice when I described it," Lily admitted. "I was just going to dinner with my brother. It wasn't some secret date." But even as she defended herself, Lily knew the situation had grown complicated. The daily lunches, the long conversations, the book recommendations that had turned into an informal book club of sorts, they had created an intimacy that went beyond the normal guest-staff relationship. Still, nothing inappropriate had happened. James had never touched her beyond the occasional accidental brush of hands when passing items. He had never made advances or suggestions that crossed professional lines. If there was an attraction between them, and Lily was increasingly certain there was, it remained unspoken, suspended in the liminal space between what was and what could be. That afternoon, Lily approached the penthouse with trepidation. If rumors were spreading, perhaps she should create more distance, return to a strictly professional relationship with James. It would be the sensible thing to do. But when she entered the suite, her resolution wavered. James was standing by the window, talking animatedly on the phone, the afternoon sun casting him in golden light. When he saw her, his face lit up in a way that made her heart skip. He held up one finger, "Just a minute," and continued his call. Lily busied herself with arranging fresh flowers in the living area, trying not to eavesdrop but unable to help overhearing snippets of conversation. "Yes, I'm serious about this. No, it's not just a passing phase. I understand the implications, but my decision is final. We'll discuss the details when I return to New York." When he finally ended the call, James looked both relieved and anxious, like someone who had just jumped off a cliff and was still waiting to hit the water. "Everything okay?" Lily asked cautiously. James took a deep breath. "Actually, no. And yes, it's complicated." He walked over to the dining table where a stack of documents lay spread out. "I've just made a major decision that's going to shock a lot of people, including my board of directors and probably the entire tech industry." Lily approached cautiously. "What kind of decision?" James ran a hand through his hair, a gesture she'd come to recognize as a sign of his nervousness. "I'm stepping down as CEO of Reed Enterprises." The news was so unexpected that Lily couldn't hide her shock. What? Your company is thriving. Everyone says you're a brilliant CEO." "Brilliant at making money, maybe," James said with a slight edge to his voice. "But that's not why I started the company." He picked up one of the documents and handed it to her. "This is the original mission statement I wrote when I founded Reed Enterprises." "Read it." Lily took the paper hesitantly. The document was dated 8 years ago, printed on plain paper with a simple letterhead. It read, "Reed Enterprises exists to create technology that improves lives, reduces inequality, and makes the world more just. Profit is a means to fulfill this mission, not the mission itself." "It's beautiful," Lily said honestly, looking up at him. "Is this why you're stepping down? Because you don't think the company is fulfilling this mission anymore?" James nodded, a mixture of sadness and determination in his eyes. "We've become what I never wanted to be, just another tech giant focused on quarterly results and market share. We make products that people want, but not necessarily products that make their lives better in meaningful ways." He gestured to the stack of papers. "I've spent the last year developing a new direction for the company, projects focused on education, healthcare, environmental sustainability, areas where our technology could make a real difference. And the board doesn't support this? They see it as a distraction from our core business," James said using air quotes. "They're not wrong from a purely financial perspective. These initiatives won't generate the same returns, at least not immediately." Lily studied him, trying to understand. "So you're giving up? Leaving the company you built?" "Not giving up," James corrected firmly. "Changing course. I'm starting a new venture, a foundation that will focus exclusively on these impact-driven projects. I'll remain on the board of Reed Enterprises, but I'll hand over day-to-day operations to someone who's excited about making smartphones slightly thinner each year." There was both bitterness and liberation in his voice, as if he was simultaneously mourning what his company had become and celebrating his freedom from it. When will this happen? Lily asked. I'm making the announcement next week when I return to New York, James said. My lawyers are finalizing the details now. He moved closer to her, his expression intense. Lily, I haven't told anyone else about this. Not my friends, not my executive team. Just my lawyers and now you. Why me? She asked, the question barely above a whisper. James looked at her with such openness that it almost hurt to meet his gaze. Because in the past 2 weeks, you've seen me more clearly than people who've known me for years. Because you understand what matters beyond money and success. Because. He hesitated, then continued more softly, because I trust you. The moment hung between them, heavy with unspoken feelings. Lily knew she should maintain professional distance, especially given the rumors already circulating among the staff. But standing there with James, witnessing this pivotal moment in his life, professionalism seemed less important than honesty. I'm honored that you'd share this with me, she said. And for what it's worth, I think you're making the right choice. Following your original mission even at a personal cost, that takes real courage. Something shifted in James's expression then, a decision being made. Lily, there's something else I need to tell you. Something that might make things complicated. Lily's heart raced. What is it? I'm extending my stay at the hotel, he said. Not because I need to be in the city longer for business, but because. He took a deep breath. Because I'm not ready to say goodbye to you. The confession hung in the air between them. Lily felt dizzy with the implications. This wasn't just friendly conversation or innocent lunches anymore. This was James Reed, one of the wealthiest men in the country, admitting he had feelings for her. James, she began, not even sure what she was going to say. He held up a hand. You don't need to respond right now. I know this is unexpected, and I know the circumstances make it complicated. I'm your hotel's guest. There's a power imbalance. I understand all of that. It's not just that, Lily said, finding her voice. We come from completely different worlds. You're about to make headlines with a decision that will impact global markets. I'm just trying to make rent and pay for my mom's medication. Do you think I care about that? James asked softly. Maybe not now, Lily replied. But eventually you would. Or the people around you would make you care. James stepped closer, not touching her but close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him. Lily, in the past 2 weeks, I felt more alive, more myself than I have in years. When I'm with you, I'm not the CEO of Reed Enterprises or the billionaire in the penthouse. I'm just James, the guy who loves old movies and reads too many historical novels and can't make decent coffee to save his life. Despite her nervousness, Lily smiled at the last part. It was true, for a genius inventor, James was hilariously bad at operating the suite's high-end coffee machine. I like that James, she admitted quietly. I like him a lot. Hope bloomed in his eyes. Then give this a chance. Give us a chance. Not as billionaire and hotel maid, but as two people who connect on something deeper than titles and bank accounts. Before Lily could respond, her work phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Patel asking why she hadn't returned from the penthouse yet. Reality came crashing back. I have to go, she said, showing him the message. They're already suspicious about how much time I spend up here. James nodded, understanding but clearly disappointed. Think about what I said, please? I will, Lily promised, because how could she not? Her thoughts would be filled with little else. As she rode the service elevator back down to the staff area, Lily's mind raced. The practical part of her knew this could only end in heartbreak. People like James Reed didn't end up with people like her, no matter what happened in movies. The gap between their worlds was too vast to bridge. But another part of her, a part that had been dormant for years while she focused on survival and responsibility, whispered that maybe, just maybe, this was her chance at something extraordinary. James saw her, really saw her, in a way no one had in years. He valued her thoughts, her perspectives, her dreams. How could she walk away from that without at least seeing where it might lead? By the time she reached the staff locker room, Lily had made her decision. She would give them a chance, even if it meant risking her heart in the process. Some chances were too precious to let slip away out of fear. The news broke on a Tuesday. James Reed, tech visionary and CEO of Reed Enterprises, was stepping down to launch a nonprofit foundation focused on using technology to address global inequality. The financial markets reacted immediately. Reed Enterprises stock dropped 8% in the first hour of trading, then stabilized as analysts digested the full implications of the announcement. At Hotel Monarch, the staff lounge was abuzz with speculation. James Reed was their most prominent guest, and now he was making international headlines while staying in their penthouse suite. They say he's having some kind of breakdown, one of the bellhops said, scrolling through news articles on his phone. Midlife crisis or something. He seems perfectly normal to me, another staff member countered. I delivered room service yesterday and he was polite as always. Lily kept her head down, focusing on organizing her cleaning cart. She knew the truth behind James's decision. His desire to return to his original mission, his frustration with the corporate treadmill, his search for more meaningful work. But she couldn't say any of that without revealing the depth of their relationship. Their relationship. The phrase still felt strange, exhilarating and terrifying all at once. In the 3 days since James's confession, they had been cautious but deliberate in exploring what existed between them. They still met for lunch in the penthouse, but now there was an acknowledgement of their feelings, an openness that hadn't been there before. James had been careful not to push, understanding the complicated position Lily was in. We should take this slowly, he'd said. Give ourselves time to figure out what this means beyond the bubble of the hotel. Lily appreciated his patience, but it didn't stop the rumors from spreading. Housekeeping staff noticed her longer stays in the penthouse. Room service commented on the intimate lunches for two. The front desk observed James asking specifically about Lily's schedule. Miss Chin, may I speak with you privately? Mrs. Patel's voice cut through Lily's thoughts. The housekeeping manager stood in the doorway of the staff lounge, her expression stern. Lily's stomach dropped. She followed Mrs. Patel to her small office, aware of the curious eyes watching them leave. Please sit down, Mrs. Patel said once they were alone, closing the door firmly. Lily perched on the edge of the chair, hands clasped tightly in her lap. I've been receiving reports about your conduct with Mr. Reed, Mrs. Patel began, her tone professional but disapproving. Extended visits to his suite, private meals together, conversations of a personal nature. This is not appropriate behavior for a staff member, Miss Chin. We're friends, Lily said, the word inadequate but the safest option. Mr. Reed appreciates having someone to talk to who treats him like a normal person. He is not a normal person, Mrs. Patel countered firmly. He is our most valuable guest and you are a housekeeper. There are boundaries that must be maintained for the reputation of this hotel and for your own protection. My protection? Lily repeated, a spark of indignation cutting through her nervousness. Mrs. Patel's expression softened slightly. Lily, I've worked in luxury hotels for 28 years. I've seen this scenario play out before. Wealthy men sometimes amuse themselves with staff members during their stays. It never ends well for the employee. The implication stung like a slap. That's not what's happening here, Lily insisted, her voice tight. Mr. Reed isn't like that. They never are, according to the young women who believe them, Mrs. Patel said with what sounded like genuine concern. I'm trying to protect you from inevitable disappointment, and the hotel from potential scandal. What are you saying exactly? Lily asked, though she already knew the answer. I'm saying that if these reports continue, we will have no choice but to reassign you to a different floor. Mr. Dawson has already approved this course of action. Lily felt a cold knot of dread in her stomach. Being reassigned would mean not seeing James every day, not having their lunches, their conversations. But more than that, it felt unjust. She had done nothing wrong, nothing against hotel policy at least. Has Mr. Reed complained about my service? She asked, keeping her voice steady. No, Mrs. Patel admitted. Quite the opposite. Then why? Because appearances matter in this business, Mrs. Patel interrupted. And the appearance of impropriety can be as damaging as impropriety itself. Lily wanted to argue further, to defend what was growing between her and James, but she knew it would only make things worse. I understand, she said instead. Good. Mrs. Patel nodded. Consider this a warning for now. Return to your professional duties, maintain appropriate distance, and this need not go any further. As Lily left the office, her mind was racing. She needed to tell James about this conversation, but how? She wasn't scheduled to clean his suite until tomorrow, and approaching the penthouse outside her assigned time would only validate the suspicions against her. The answer came in the form of Jen, who caught her eye across the locker room and subtly beckoned her over. I overheard, Jen whispered once Lily was beside her. Mrs. Patel wasn't exactly quiet. Lily sighed. So now everyone will know. Listen, Jen said, glancing around to make sure no one was watching them. I'm delivering afternoon tea to the penthouse in 15 minutes. I could tell Mr. Reed you need to speak with him. Maybe arrange something away from the hotel? Lily hesitated. Involving Jen would put her friend at risk too. I can't ask you to do that. You're not asking. I'm offering, Jen said firmly. Besides, I'm curious about this billionaire who's apparently fallen for my best friend. Despite everything, Lily smiled. We're not. I mean, it's complicated. It always is, Jen said with a knowing smile. So what should I tell him? 15 minutes later, Jen returned from the penthouse with a note scribbled on hotel stationery. It contained just an address, a time, and the words, if you can. J. The address was for a small bookstore cafe in a quiet neighborhood far from the luxury shopping and dining districts that catered to Hotel Monarch's typical guests. The time was 7:30 that evening, after Lily's shift ended. He also said to tell you he understands if you can't make it, Jen added. And that regardless of your decision, he'll respect your space at the hotel. The consideration in that message, the awareness of the difficult position she was in, only confirmed what Lily already knew about James. He wasn't the type of man Mrs. Patel had warned her about, the type who used and discarded people for momentary amusement. That evening, after changing out of her uniform into jeans and a simple blouse, Lily made her way to the address James had provided. The bookstore cafe, called Leaves and Beans, was warm and inviting, with shelves of books lining the walls and small tables nestled among them. It was the kind of place Lily would have spent hours in if she had more free time. Unpretentious, comfortable, focused on the simple pleasures of good books and good coffee. James was already there, sitting at a corner table with 2 cups of coffee in front of him. He was dressed casually in jeans and a gray sweater, looking nothing like the billionaire CEO whose face had been splashed across business news all day. Without the trappings of wealth surrounding him, the penthouse suite, the designer suits, the air of privilege, he could have been any other customer. When he saw her, his face lit up with a smile that made Lily's heart skip. She wove through the tables to join him, acutely aware of both her nervousness and her anticipation. You came, he said as she sat down across from him. I wasn't sure you would. I almost didn't, Lily admitted. Mrs. Patel called me into her office today. Apparently our friendship has been noticed. James's expression grew serious. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to create problems for you at work. It's not your fault, Lily said, taking a sip of the coffee he'd ordered for her, a latte with a hint of vanilla, exactly how she liked it. She noticed the small detail, the fact that he remembered her coffee preference from a casual mention days ago. But Mrs. Patel made it clear that if things continue as they have been, I'll be reassigned to a different floor. I could speak with the hotel management, James offered. Make it clear that I specifically request your services. Lily shook her head. That would only make things worse. They already think. She hesitated, embarrassed to repeat Mrs. Patel's implications. They think I'm some rich guy amusing himself with the hotel staff, James finished for her, his voice tight with anger. As if you were some kind of perk that comes with the penthouse suite. Something like that, Lily confirmed quietly. James reached across the table, his hand stopping just short of touching hers. Lily, you have to know that's not what this is. Not for me. I know, she said, and she did. Whatever was happening between them, it wasn't casual or trivial for either of them. But it doesn't change the fact that my job is at risk and I can't afford to lose it, not with my mom's medical bills and my brother's tuition. James was quiet for a moment, thinking. What if we stopped seeing each other at the hotel entirely? He suggested. I could request a different suite attendant, someone who wouldn't be connected to you. We could meet like this outside the hotel where it wouldn't affect your job. The idea had merit, but Lily saw a flaw. The damage is already done, she pointed out. People have noticed. Changing things now would just confirm their suspicions. Then what do we do? James asked, frustration evident in his voice. I'm not willing to just walk away from this, from you, because of hotel gossip and misplaced concerns about appearances. His determination warmed her, even as she recognized the practical challenges they faced. I don't want to walk away either, she admitted. But I need this job, James. At least until I figure out something else. What if I could help with that? James asked, leaning forward. Not by giving you money, he added quickly, seeing her expression. I know you wouldn't accept that. But by helping you find opportunities that align with your real interests and skills. Like what? Lily asked, curious despite her caution. You want to go back to school, study literature, eventually teach, James said, recalling details from their earlier conversations. There are scholarships, work-study programs, teaching assistant positions. With your intelligence and work ethic, you could qualify for many of them. The idea was tantalizing, a path back to the dreams she'd set aside years ago. But Lily was wary of quick fixes. Even if I found a scholarship, there's still my mom's care to consider. My brother's education. One step at a time, James suggested. Let's research what's available. You don't have to make any decisions tonight. But at least know there are options beyond choosing between your job and... He hesitated, then continued softly, and us. The way he said, us, like it was something precious, something worth fighting for, made Lily's throat tight with emotion. She had been so focused on the obstacles, the reasons why this couldn't work, that she hadn't fully allowed herself to consider what it would mean if it did. Okay, she agreed. We can look into options. But for now, I need to be careful at work. No more extended visits to the penthouse, no more private lunches. I understand, James said, though the disappointment was clear in his eyes. Your job security comes first. Thank you, Lily said, genuinely grateful for his understanding. They spent the next hour talking about everything and nothing. Books they'd read recently, movies they wanted to see, childhood memories, future hopes. Outside the context of the hotel, with its rigid hierarchies and watchful eyes, they were just James and Lily, two people enjoying each other's company. When it was time to leave, James walked her to the subway station. They stood at the entrance, reluctant to part. Can I see you again? James asked. Not at the hotel, but somewhere like tonight. Maybe dinner this weekend? Lily nodded, unable to deny the happiness the suggestion brought her. I'd like that. I'm off on Sunday. Sunday it is, James said, his smile warming her despite the cool evening air. I know a place where they make the best dumplings you've ever tasted. Very low-key, no chance of running into hotel guests or staff. That sounds perfect, Lily agreed. They stood there for a moment, the unspoken tension of a first date goodbye hanging between them. James leaned down slowly, giving her every chance to pull away, and pressed a gentle kiss to her cheek. Good night, Lily, he murmured. Good night, James, she replied, her skin tingling where his lips had touched. As she descended into the subway station, Lily felt lighter than she had in years. Yes, there were complications, obstacles, and an uncertain future. But for the first time in a long time, she was allowing herself to want something beyond mere survival. She was allowing herself to hope. The weekend couldn't come fast enough for Lily. The days at work dragged on, made more difficult by her efforts to maintain professional distance from James. She cleaned the penthouse efficiently and quickly, limiting conversation to necessary questions about preferences for room service or fresh towels. James cooperated fully, understanding what was at stake, though she often caught him watching her with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. When Sunday finally arrived, Lily spent more time than usual getting ready. She tried on and discarded 5 different outfits before settling on a simple blue dress that Jen had once told her brought out her eyes. She applied light makeup, let her hair down from its usual work ponytail, and even added a pair of small silver earrings her brother had given her for her last birthday. Look at you, her mother said when Lily emerged from her bedroom. Ji-Chin was seated in her favorite armchair by the window of their small apartment, a book open on her lap. Though her illness had taken a toll, her eyes were still sharp and missed nothing. You have a date. It wasn't a question. Lily hesitated, then nodded. She hadn't told her mother about James yet, partly because she wasn't sure what there was to tell, and partly because she knew her mother would worry. Is he kind? Ji-Chin asked simply. Yes, Lily answered without hesitation. Very kind. Her mother studied her face, then nodded, apparently satisfied. Then I'm happy for you. It's been too long since I've seen that look in your eyes. What look? Lily asked, curious. Hope, her mother replied with a small smile. You used to look at the world that way before all our troubles began. I've missed seeing it. Emotion welled up in Lily's throat. Her mother had always been perceptive, always able to see straight to the heart of things. I'm not sure where this is going, she admitted. It's complicated. Life usually is, Ji-Chin said pragmatically. But complications have never stopped you before. That was true enough. Lily had navigated countless complications since her father's death and her mother's diagnosis, financial struggles, educational setbacks, the crushing weight of responsibility at a young age. Perhaps the situation with James was just one more complexity to work through. Don't wait up for me, Lily said, kissing her mother's cheek. I might be late. Enjoy yourself, Ji-Chin replied. You deserve some happiness, Lily. James was waiting outside the small, unassuming restaurant in a quiet neighborhood far from the luxury districts he usually frequented. When he saw Lily approaching, his face transformed with a smile that made her heart flutter. He looked different outside the hotel context, more relaxed in jeans and a casual button-down shirt, his usual perfectly styled hair slightly tousled by the evening breeze. You look beautiful, he said when she reached him. You clean up pretty well yourself, she replied with a smile, trying to hide her nervousness. This was their first real date, away from the confines and pretenses of the hotel. The restaurant, true to James's description, was small and unpretentious. Red paper lanterns hung from the ceiling, and the tables were covered with simple white cloths. The elderly woman who greeted them seemed to recognize James, smiling warmly and leading them to a corner table partially screened by a decorative wooden partition. You come here often? Lily asked as they settled into their seats. Whenever I'm in the city, James confirmed. Mrs. Zhang makes dumplings the way my grandmother used to. It reminds me of visiting her in Taiwan when I was a kid. This was new information. Your grandmother was Taiwanese? Lily asked, interested. James nodded. My mother's mother. She used to make the most amazing food, steamers full of dumplings, bowls of beef noodle soup that would cure anything from a cold to a broken heart. My happiest childhood memories are in her kitchen. Lily loved this glimpse into his past, this piece of personal history that didn't make it into news articles about James Reed, tech mogul. My mother is the same way, she shared. Even now, when she's too tired to do much else, she insists on making our family recipes. She says food is how we keep our heritage alive. Wise woman, James said. What's your favorite dish she makes? The conversation flowed easily from there, family traditions, childhood memories, favorite foods. When Mrs. Zhang brought steaming bamboo baskets of dumplings to their table, both Lily and James fell silent for a moment, savoring the perfect blend of delicate wrapper and flavorful filling. Oh my God, Lily murmured after the first bite. These might be the best dumplings I've ever had. James grinned, pleased by her reaction. Told you. Mrs. Zhang is a culinary genius who happens to run a hole-in-the-wall restaurant instead of a Michelin-starred establishment. Which is probably why the food is still this good. She cooks for love, not acclaim. As they continued eating and talking, Lily found herself relaxing completely for the first time in weeks. Outside the context of the hotel, the disparity in their social positions seemed less significant. Here they were just two people enjoying a meal in each other's company. After dinner, they strolled through a nearby park, where cherry trees were just beginning to bloom. The paths were illuminated by old-fashioned lampposts, casting a warm glow on the walkways. It was a perfect spring evening, cool but not cold, with a gentle breeze carrying the scent of flowers. I brought something for you, James said as they sat on a bench overlooking a small pond. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small wrapped package. James, you didn't need to. It's nothing extravagant, he assured her. Just something I thought you might like. Curious, Lily unwrapped the package to find a beautiful leather-bound notebook, its cover embossed with a simple tree design. You mentioned once that you used to write before life got too busy, James explained. Stories, poetry, your thoughts. I thought maybe you might want to start again. The thoughtfulness of the gift touched Lily deeply. It wasn't expensive jewelry or designer clothes, the kind of flashy presents a wealthy man might give to impress. It was something personal, something that showed he had been listening, really listening when she spoke about her past passions. It's perfect, she said softly, running her fingers over the smooth leather. Thank you. You're welcome, James replied, his voice equally soft. In the gentle lamplight, his eyes were warm and full of something that made Lily's breath catch. Almost without thinking, she leaned toward him. James met her halfway, his hand coming up to gently cup her cheek as their lips met in a kiss that started tender and quickly deepened with a hunger that surprised them both. Lily's heart raced as her hands found their way to his shoulders, feeling the solid warmth of him beneath her fingertips. When they finally pulled apart, both slightly breathless, James rested his forehead against hers. I've been wanting to do that since the moment I saw you sleeping in my hotel room, he admitted with a small laugh. Even then? Lily asked, surprised. Even then, he confirmed. Though I was still annoyed about finding someone in my suite, I couldn't help noticing how beautiful you were, even exhausted and in a rumpled uniform. Lily laughed, shaking her head at the memory. Not my finest moment. I disagree, James said, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. It was honest. Real. In my world, those qualities are rare and precious. They talked for hours on that park bench, sharing stories and dreams and fears. James told her about the pressure of building Reed Enterprises, the loneliness of leadership, the disillusionment that had led to his recent decision to step down. Lily shared her struggles with her mother's illness, the financial tightrope she walked each month, the dream she had reluctantly set aside. I've been thinking about what you said, Lily ventured as the night grew late. About options for going back to school. James's expression brightened. Have you looked into anything specific? A little, Lily admitted. There's a part-time literature program at the community college that offers evening classes. It wouldn't be a full degree right away, but it would be a start. And they have scholarships for working adults. That sounds perfect, James said encouragingly. When would you apply? The deadline for fall semester is next month, Lily said. I'm working on the application essay now. It's been years since I wrote anything academic, so it's a bit intimidating. I'd be happy to read it if you'd like, James offered. Not to rewrite it, your voice should be your own, but sometimes a second pair of eyes helps. I'd appreciate that, Lily said, touched by the offer. It was so different from him simply offering money or using his influence to get her admitted. He was supporting her efforts to forge her own path, not trying to create one for her. As midnight approached, they reluctantly agreed it was time to head home. James insisted on calling a car service to take Lily to her apartment, despite her protest that she could take the subway. Humor me, he said. It's late and I'll worry otherwise. At her building, a modest apartment complex in a working-class neighborhood, James walked her to the entrance. Can I see you again next weekend? He asked. Maybe dinner and a movie? I'd like that, Lily agreed, her heart light with happiness despite the complications that still loomed between them. And in the meantime at the hotel? James began. We keep things professional, Lily finished for him. At least until I figure out my next steps. James nodded, understanding but clearly wishing things could be different. It won't be easy seeing you and having to pretend we're just guest and hotel staff. I know, Lily agreed softly. But it's only temporary. Once I have a clearer plan for school for my future, we can reassess. James pulled her close for one more kiss, tender and promising. Good night, Lily Chin. Thank you for the best evening I've had in years. Good night, James, she whispered against his lips. Thank you for the dumplings. And the notebook. And everything. As the car drove away with James inside, Lily touched her lips, still feeling the ghost of his kiss. She knew there were still obstacles ahead. Her job, her family responsibilities, the vast difference in their backgrounds and social circles. But for tonight, for this moment, she allowed herself to simply be happy, to bask in the warm glow of beginning something new and wonderful with someone who saw her, truly saw her, for who she was. When she entered the apartment, she was surprised to find her mother still awake, reading in her armchair. You didn't have to wait up, Lily said, setting down her purse and the wrapped notebook James had given her. I wanted to, Ji-yeon replied, setting aside her book. How was your date? It was. Lily searched for the right word. Wonderful, she finally said, unable to keep the smile from her face. Her mother studied her expression and nodded, satisfied. Good. You deserve wonderful, Lily. More than anyone I know. As Lily prepared for bed that night, she found herself humming softly, a habit she had all but forgotten in the years of stress and struggle. For the first time in a long time, she fell asleep thinking not of bills to pay or problems to solve, but of possibilities, of futures that had once seemed out of reach but now glimmered on the horizon like distant stars, beckoning her forward. For 2 weeks, Lily and James maintained their delicate balance, professional distance at the hotel, increasingly intimate connection outside of it. They spent 3 more evenings together, each one deepening the bond between them. A dinner at a hidden Italian restaurant where they talked until the owners gently reminded them it was closing time. An afternoon at a small art gallery where James confessed his complete ignorance about modern art and Lily, who had taken art history classes before dropping out of college, found herself playing the teacher for once. A quiet Sunday morning in a botanical garden, where they strolled hand in hand among blooming flowers, talking about everything and nothing. At the hotel they were careful. Lily cleaned the penthouse efficiently, limiting conversation to necessary questions. James maintained a polite, appropriate distance. If their eyes sometimes held contact a moment too long, if their fingers occasionally brushed when passing items, no one was there to notice. But secrets have a way of revealing themselves, especially in environments where gossip is currency. The revelation came from an unexpected source, a Society page article in a national newspaper. The headline read, Tech Billionaire's Secret Romance with Hotel Maid? Below it was a grainy photo taken through the window of the Italian restaurant, showing James and Lily leaning toward each other, clearly engrossed in intimate conversation. Lily first learned of the article when Jen thrust a phone into her hands as she arrived for her morning shift. You need to see this, Jen said, her expression a mix of concern and excitement. As Lily read the article, her stomach twisted into knots. The piece was brief but devastating. James Reed, the tech billionaire who recently shocked Wall Street by stepping down as CEO of Reed Enterprises, appears to have found a surprising new interest. Sources close to the Hotel Monarch confirmed that Reed has been spending considerable time with a hotel maid, identified as Lily Chen. The pair have been spotted dining together at exclusive restaurants and strolling through city parks. Is this a passing fancy, or has the eligible bachelor billionaire finally found love in the most unexpected place? Reed Enterprises declined to comment. They can't just print this, Lily said, her voice barely above a whisper. This is my private life. You're dating one of the richest men in the country, Jen pointed out gently. Private might not be an option anymore. Before Lily could respond, Mrs. Patel appeared at the end of the hallway, her expression severe. Miss Chen. My office. Now. With a sinking feeling, Lily handed the phone back to Jen and followed the housekeeping manager. In Mrs. Patel's office, Mr. Dawson, the hotel manager, was already waiting, a copy of the newspaper on his desk. Explain this, Mr. Dawson said without preamble, tapping the article with one finger. Lily took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. Mr. Reed and I have become friends. We've spent some time together outside of work hours. There's nothing inappropriate about that. Nothing inappropriate? Mr. Dawson repeated incredulously. You are a hotel employee fraternizing with our most high-profile guest, and now it's in the national press. Do you have any idea how this looks for the Hotel Monarch? Like two adults enjoying each other's company? Lily suggested, a spark of defiance cutting through her anxiety. Mrs. Patel's expression softened slightly. Lily, we warned you about this. Not just for the hotel's sake but for yours. Men like James Reed. Don't presume to know what kind of man James Reed is, Lily interrupted, surprising herself with her boldness. You've never had a real conversation with him. I have. Mr. Dawson cleared his throat. Regardless of Mr. Reed's character or intentions, this situation has created a problem for the hotel. Our wealthy clients expect discretion and professionalism from our staff. This kind of publicity undermines that expectation. So what exactly are you saying? Lily asked, though she already knew the answer. We're reassigning you to the corporate floors effective immediately, Mr. Dawson stated. You will no longer service the penthouse suite or have any contact with Mr. Reed during work hours. It was the outcome Lily had feared, yet somehow hearing it stated so bluntly still stung. I understand, she said, keeping her voice steady. And Miss Chen, Mr. Dawson added, his tone softening slightly, I would strongly advise reconsidering this friendship. Men in Mr. Reed's position are accustomed to getting what they want when they want it. They aren't known for their long-term commitments to women who clean their hotel rooms. The condescension in his tone made Lily's blood boil. Thank you for your concern, she said stiffly. Is there anything else? That will be all for now, Mrs. Patel said. Please report to the 10th floor for your new assignment. As Lily left the office, her mind raced. She needed to tell James about the article about her reassignment. But how? She couldn't go to the penthouse now, and texting such news seemed inadequate. The solution presented itself as she turned the corner and nearly collided with James himself, stepping out of the elevator. His face lit up at the sight of her, then quickly shifted to concern as he registered her expression. Lily? What's wrong? She glanced around nervously. We shouldn't be seen talking here. Understanding immediately, James nodded toward a small conference room nearby. In there. Just for a minute. Once inside with the door closed, Lily showed him the article on her phone. James read it quickly, his expression darkening. I'm so sorry, he said when he finished. This is my fault. I should have been more careful. It's not your fault, Lily assured him. But it's caused problems. I've been reassigned to the corporate floors. I won't be servicing the penthouse anymore. James ran a hand through his hair in frustration. This is exactly what I wanted to avoid. I never meant to complicate your work situation. I know, Lily said softly. But it's done now. What did they say to you? James asked, his eyes searching her face. Lily hesitated, not wanting to repeat Mr. Dawson's condescending words. Just that it looks unprofessional for the hotel. James's expression suggested he didn't quite believe that was all, but he didn't press. What do you want to do now? He asked instead. It was the right question, not telling her what to do or how to feel but asking what she wanted. It was one of the things Lily most appreciated about him. Nothing changes between us, she said firmly. They can reassign me at work, but they don't get to decide who I spend time with outside of it. Relief and happiness bloomed on James's face. Are you sure? This might be just the beginning. The more we're seen together, the more attention we'll get. I'm sure, Lily replied, realizing as she said it how true it was. The past few weeks with James had brought more joy into her life than she'd experienced in years. She wasn't willing to give that up because of hotel politics or nosy journalists. James stepped closer, taking her hands in his. Then we'll face it together. And I promise I'll do everything I can to shield you from the worst of it. I'm tougher than I look, Lily reminded him with a small smile. I've dealt with difficult situations before. I know you have, James said, his eyes warm with admiration. It's one of the many things I love, he caught himself, then continued more carefully. One of the many things I admire about you. The near slip made Lily's heart race. Had he been about to say he loved her? They'd known each other for barely a month. And yet, the intensity of their connection sometimes made it feel like much longer. I should go, she said reluctantly. I need to report to my new assignment. James nodded, equally reluctant to part. Can I see you tonight? We should talk about this more, make a plan. I can't tonight. My brother is coming for dinner with my mom, Lily explained. Tomorrow? Tomorrow, James agreed. I'll text you where to meet. With one last squeeze of her hands, he let her go. Lily slipped out of the conference room first, checking that the hallway was clear before hurrying toward the service elevators. The rest of the day passed in a blur of new rooms to clean, new protocols to learn, and whispered conversations that stopped abruptly when she entered the staff break room. The article had clearly made the rounds among the hotel employees. Some colleagues were openly curious, others coldly disapproving, and a few, like Jen, supportively protective. Don't let them get to you, Jen advised during their lunch break. They're just jealous. Of what? Lily asked tiredly. Being reassigned and gossiped about? Of catching the eye of James Reed, Jen clarified. Half the women in this hotel would trade places with you in a heartbeat. It's not like that, Lily protested. We connect on a deeper level. It's not about his money or status. Jen's expression softened. I know that. I've seen the way you light up when you talk about him. This is real for you. It is, Lily confirmed. But I'm worried about what happens next. This article is just the beginning, isn't it? Probably, Jen admitted. Are you ready for that? For people digging into your life, making assumptions, judging you? It was the question Lily had been avoiding all day. Was she ready for the scrutiny that came with being connected to someone like James Reed? She had always valued her privacy, her quiet existence. Now that privacy was being stripped away, article by article. I don't know, she answered honestly. But James is worth it. What we have is worth it. When she arrived home that evening, Lily was grateful for the distraction of family dinner. Her brother, Michael, was already there helping their mother prepare a simple meal. At 22, Michael was in his final year of engineering studies, his future bright with possibilities that Lily had helped secure through her sacrifices. There she is. Michael exclaimed when Lily entered. The famous Lily Chin, trending on social media. Lily groaned. Please tell me you're joking. Wish I was, Michael replied, holding up his phone to show a Twitter feed where the article was being shared and commented on. But hey, it's not every day my big sister makes headlines for dating a tech billionaire. Michael, Jihyun chided gently. Don't tease your sister. Can't you see she's had a difficult day? Michael's expression immediately shifted to concern. Sorry sis, are you okay? Did something happen at work? Lily sighed, setting down her bag. I've been reassigned to different floors. I'm not allowed to service the penthouse anymore. That's not fair, Michael protested. You didn't do anything wrong. Hotels have rules about staff-guest relationships, Lily explained, moving to help with dinner preparations. And now it's public, so they had to respond somehow. Will you lose your job? Jihyun asked quietly, the worry evident in her eyes. No, Mom. Just a reassignment for now, Lily assured her. But it's a warning. They're not happy about the situation. As they sat down to dinner, Michael studied his sister thoughtfully. So, is it serious? With this James Reed guy? Lily considered the question. It's getting there, she admitted. He's not what you'd expect. He's kind, thoughtful, genuinely interested in who I am, not what I do for a living. Good, Michael said firmly. Because if he hurts you, billionaire or not, he'll have me to deal with. The protective declaration made Lily smile. I'll be sure to warn him. Bring him to dinner sometime, Jihyun suggested. I'd like to meet this man who has captured my daughter's attention. The idea of James in their small, modest apartment, sitting at their worn kitchen table, was both appealing and terrifying. Maybe, Lily said noncommittally, if things continue to progress. Later that night, after Michael had left and her mother had gone to bed, Lily received a text from James. "Missing you. How was dinner with your family?" The simple message warmed her heart. She replied, "Missing you too. Dinner was good. My brother showed me we're trending on social media. Did you know that?" James's response came quickly, "Unfortunately, yes. My PR team has been calling all day. I've ignored them. How are you holding up?" Lily appreciated his concern. "I'm okay. A bit overwhelmed by the attention. Not used to people talking about my personal life." "I understand," James texted back. "We can lay low for a while if you prefer. Meet somewhere more private tomorrow." The offer was considerate, but Lily found herself reluctant to hide. "No," she replied after a moment's thought. "I don't want to skulk around like we're doing something wrong. Let's just be normal. Have dinner somewhere quiet but not secretive." James's response made her smile. "That's my brave Lily. How about the little French place on 9th Street tomorrow at 7? The food is amazing and they have private alcoves for dining." "Perfect," Lily texted back. "See you then." As she prepared for bed, Lily tried to quiet the anxious voices in her head. Mr. Dawson's condescending warnings, the gossip of her colleagues, the scrutiny of strangers online. Instead, she focused on the genuine connection she felt with James, the way he made her feel seen and valued, the future that might be possible if they were brave enough to pursue it. Yes, there would be challenges. Yes, people would judge and gossip and make assumptions. But for the first time in years, Lily was following her heart instead of just her responsibilities. And despite the complications, it felt right. The media attention escalated over the next week. What had started as a small society page item ballooned into a full-fledged human interest story, The Billionaire and the Maid, a modern Cinderella tale. Photographers began lurking outside the Hotel Monarch, hoping to catch a glimpse of Lily or James. Online forums buzzed with speculation about their relationship. Was it genuine affection or a calculated ploy for attention following James's shocking resignation as CEO? Through it all, Lily and James continued to see each other, finding quieter spots for their dates and becoming experts at slipping past photographers unnoticed. Their relationship deepened despite the external pressures, or perhaps because of them. Facing adversity together had forged a stronger bond between them than might have developed in calmer circumstances. "I have something to show you," James said one evening as they finished dinner at a small, out-of-the-way Vietnamese restaurant. They were seated in a back corner, relatively safe from prying eyes. "Something important." His serious tone made Lily curious. "What is it?" "Not here," James replied, glancing around. "Can you come back to the hotel with me?" "To the penthouse." Lily hesitated. She hadn't been to the penthouse since her reassignment nearly 2 weeks ago. "I'm not supposed to be there," she reminded him. "If someone sees me?" "We'll be careful," James promised. "Use the private elevator directly to the penthouse. No one will know." His expression was so earnest, so clearly important to him, that Lily found herself nodding despite her misgivings. "Okay. But we need to be discreet." They took separate cars to the hotel, James in his hired town car, Lily in a taxi that dropped her off at a side entrance. James had messaged her the access code for the private elevator that went directly to the penthouse, bypassing the main lobby and floors. When the elevator doors opened into the familiar space of the penthouse suite, Lily felt a strange mixture of nostalgia and nervousness. This was where everything had begun, where she had fallen asleep from exhaustion and woken to find her life on an entirely new trajectory. James was already there, waiting for her with an expression that was both excited and apprehensive. "Thank you for coming," he said, taking her hands and kissing her softly. "This is important to me." "What is it?" Lily asked, curiosity building. James led her to the dining table, where his laptop was open alongside several folders of documents. "Remember when I told you I was starting a foundation? Focusing on projects that use technology to reduce inequality, improve education, create real positive change." Lily nodded. It had been one of the first personal revelations he'd shared with her, the dream behind his decision to step down as CEO. "Well, it's happening," James continued, his eyes bright with enthusiasm. "The paperwork is filed, the initial funding is secured, and we're ready to announce our first major initiative." He pulled out a chair for her. "I wanted you to be the first to see it." Touched by the gesture, Lily sat down and looked at the computer screen, where a presentation was open. The title slide read, "The Second Chance Initiative, Creating Educational Pathways for Adult Learners." "This is the Foundation's flagship program," James explained, moving to stand behind her chair. We're creating scholarships specifically for adults who had to interrupt their education due to financial hardship, family responsibilities, or other life circumstances. Full tuition, stipends for living expenses, childcare assistance, flexible scheduling, everything needed to make education truly accessible. As he clicked through the slides explaining the program structure, funding model, and implementation timeline, Lily felt a growing sense of wonder. This wasn't just a charitable project. This was something personal, something that reflected values they had discussed during their many conversations. "James," she said when he finished the presentation, "this is incredible. You're going to change so many lives." "That's the goal," he agreed, sitting down beside her. "But there's something else I wanted to show you specifically." He opened one of the folders and pulled out a document, sliding it across the table to her. Lily looked down at the paper titled Scholarship Criteria and Selection Process. As she read through it, her breath caught. One of the criteria jumped out at her. Preference will be given to applicants with interest in literature and education, particularly those who aspire to teaching careers. She looked up at James, her eyes wide with realization. You designed this with me in mind?" James nodded, suddenly looking vulnerable. "Not just for you, it will help thousands of people eventually. But yes, our conversations about your interrupted education, your dream of teaching literature, they helped shape the focus." He took her hands in his. "You helped me see what really matters, Lily. The difference education can make, the dreams people put on hold not because they lack ability or dedication, but because life threw obstacles in their path." Emotion welled up in Lily's throat. No one had ever listened to her dreams so carefully, or worked to make them possible in such a profound way. This wasn't James simply writing her a check or using his connections to get her admitted somewhere. This was him creating something bigger than both of them, something that would help countless others facing similar struggles. "I don't know what to say," she managed, her voice thick with feeling. "You don't have to say anything," James assured her. "But there is something I need to ask you." He took a deep breath, looking suddenly nervous. "The foundation needs a director for this initiative. Someone who understands both the academic requirements and the real-life challenges adult learners face. Someone compassionate, organized, and committed to making education accessible." Lily blinked, not quite comprehending what he was suggesting. "Are you offering me a job?" "Yes," James confirmed. "A real job with real responsibilities and a real salary. One you're uniquely qualified for, given your experience on both sides of the equation." "But I don't have a degree," Lily pointed out, stunned by the offer. "I haven't even finished college." "You have life experience that's more valuable than any degree," James countered. "And part of the job would include completing your own education while you help develop the program. You'd be both a director and a beneficiary, showing others that it's possible." Lily's mind raced. It was an incredible opportunity, a chance to finish her education, to help others do the same, to build something meaningful. But it was also complicated. "People would say I only got the position because of our relationship," she said quietly. "That I'm trading on my connection to you." "Some might," James acknowledged. "But anyone who works with you would quickly see your qualifications stand on their own. Besides, the foundation has an independent board that would approve all major hires, including this one. It wouldn't just be my decision." He squeezed her hands gently. "Think about it. Talk to your family. This isn't something you need to decide tonight." Lily nodded, still processing the magnitude of what he was offering. "I will. Thank you for thinking of me." "I think of little else these days," James admitted with a soft smile. He hesitated, then continued. "There's something else I wanted to talk about. Something more personal." "More personal than offering me a life-changing job?" Lily teased, trying to lighten the suddenly intense atmosphere. James smiled briefly, but his expression remained serious. "Lily, these past weeks have been the most genuine, most meaningful of my adult life. Being with you has reminded me what matters: connection, compassion, seeing the world through new eyes." He took a deep breath, as if gathering courage. "I know it's fast. I know we come from different worlds. I know there are 1,000 reasons why this might seem impulsive or naive. But I'm falling in love with you, Lily Chin. Actually, that's not quite right. I've already fallen. I love you." The declaration hung in the air between them, heartfelt and vulnerable and absolutely terrifying in its implications. Lily felt as if the world had suddenly shifted beneath her feet, leaving her breathless and disoriented. "James, she began, not even sure what she was going to say. He shook his head quickly. "You don't need to say anything back. I'm not expecting reciprocation or declarations. I just needed you to know where I stand. However complicated this situation is, however many obstacles we face, my feelings are clear and certain. The sincerity in his eyes, the openness of his expression, it broke something open in Lily's heart. All the careful walls she had built over years of disappointment and struggle, all the practical reasons why this relationship couldn't possibly work, all the voices warning her to protect herself, they crumbled in the face of this simple truth. "I love you too," she said quietly, the words both frightening and freeing. I tried not to. I told myself it was impractical, impossible. But I do. Joy bloomed on James's face, so pure and unguarded that it made Lily's heart ache. He pulled her gently to her feet and into his arms, holding her as if she were something precious and irreplaceable. "We'll figure it out," he murmured against her hair. "All of it, the media attention, the job, the future. Together." Lily nodded against his chest, allowing herself to believe, just for this moment, that it could be that simple. That love could be enough to overcome the vast differences in their circumstances, the external pressures, the practical challenges. Later that night, as they sat together on the penthouse balcony, looking out at the city lights spread below them like a carpet of stars, James asked a question that changed everything. "Would your mother be up for visitors tomorrow evening? I'd like to meet her. And your brother, if he's available." The request surprised Lily. Meeting family was a significant step, an acknowledgement that this wasn't just a passing romance. "You want to meet my family?" "Of course," James said, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "They're important to you, which makes them important to me." Lily tried to imagine James in her small apartment, sitting at their worn kitchen table, talking with her practical mother and protective brother. It was a collision of worlds she hadn't quite prepared for. "Our place is very small," she cautioned. "Nothing like what you're used to." "Lily," James said gently, "do you really think I care about that?" And the truth was she didn't. In all their time together, James had never once shown concern for material trappings or status symbols. He was equally comfortable in five-star restaurants and hole-in-the-wall dumpling shops, more interested in the company and conversation than the surroundings. "No," she admitted. "I don't think you care. But I guess I'm a little nervous about what my family will think." "That's fair," James acknowledged. "It's a lot to process, their daughter dating someone whose life has been so different from yours. But I'd like the chance to show them who I really am, beyond the headlines and rumors." Put that way, how could she refuse? "I'll call my mom in the morning," Lily agreed. "Fair warning though, she'll probably insist on cooking a traditional family meal." "I'd be honored," James said sincerely. "It's been a long time since I had a home-cooked family dinner." As Lily drifted off to sleep that night, back in her own apartment after James had arranged a discreet exit from the hotel, her mind was full of possibilities she had never dared to consider before. Finishing her education. A meaningful career helping others access education. A relationship with a man who saw her completely and loved what he saw. It seemed too good to be true, this sudden flowering of opportunities and happiness after years of struggle and sacrifice. Part of her waited for the other shoe to drop, for reality to reassert itself with all its limitations and disappointments. But another part, the part that had fallen in love with James Reed against all logic and caution, dared to hope that sometimes life offered second chances. That sometimes fairy tales contained kernels of truth. That sometimes love really could bridge worlds that seemed impossibly far apart. Lily spent the entire next day in a state of nervous anticipation. She had called her mother in the morning to ask if James could join them for dinner, trying to sound casual despite the significance of the request. Jian had agreed immediately, her voice betraying both curiosity and concern. "I'll make your father's favorite dishes," she had said, a statement that carried weight beyond the simple words. Lily's father had been gone for 7 years, but Jian only prepared his favorite meal, a complex, time-consuming feast, for the most important occasions. Now, as evening approached, Lily hurried to finish cleaning their small apartment. It wasn't that she was ashamed of their modest home, but she couldn't help feeling self-conscious about James seeing where she lived. The worn furniture, the outdated kitchen, the cramped quarters, all of it stood in stark contrast to the luxury James was accustomed to. "Stop fussing," Jian admonished gently as Lily rearranged the living room flowers for the third time. "This man is coming to meet us, not inspect our home." "I know," Lily sighed, setting down the vase. "I'm just nervous." "Because you care what he thinks," her mother observed. "Which means this is serious." Lily nodded, unable to deny it. "It is. For both of us." Jian studied her daughter's face, then nodded decisively. "Then I look forward to meeting the man who has captured my daughter's heart." Now help me with these dumplings before your brother arrives. Working beside her mother in the kitchen, preparing the food that connected them to their heritage and family history, Lily felt a sense of grounding. Whatever happened with James, this part of her life, her family, her roots, her responsibilities, remained constant and true. Michael arrived first, bearing a small cake from Lily's favorite bakery. Figured we should have dessert for the billionaire, he teased, setting it on the counter. Don't call him that, Lily warned. He's just James tonight. No talk about his company or money or any of that. Relax, sis, Michael said, holding up his hands in surrender. I'll be on my best behavior. I'm just curious to meet the guy who's got you all twisted up. I am not twisted up, Lily protested, though the butterflies in her stomach suggested otherwise. At precisely 7 o'clock there was a knock at the apartment door. Lily took a deep breath, smoothed her simple dress and went to answer it. James stood in the hallway, looking both handsome and slightly nervous in dark jeans and a blue button-down shirt. He held a bouquet of flowers and a bottle of wine. Hi, he said, a soft smile spreading across his face at the sight of her. You look beautiful. You look pretty good yourself, Lily replied, feeling some of her nervousness dissipate at his familiar presence. She accepted the flowers and stepped back to let him enter. Come in and meet my family. James followed her into the small living room, where Ji-yeon and Michael waited. Lily made the introductions, watching carefully as James shook Michael's hand and presented the wine to Ji-yeon with a respectful bow that surprised and pleased her mother. Thank you for inviting me into your home, Mrs. Chin, James said sincerely. Lily speaks of you with such love and admiration. Please call me Ji-yeon, her mother replied, studying James with open curiosity. And thank you for the wine. It will go perfectly with our meal. The initial awkwardness of introductions gradually eased as they sat down to dinner. Ji-yeon had outdone herself. The table was laden with traditional dishes that had taken hours to prepare. James showed genuine appreciation for the food, asking questions about ingredients and preparations that delighted Ji-yeon. He ate enthusiastically, clearly enjoying the home-cooked meal. This is extraordinary, he said after tasting Ji-yeon's signature dumplings. Far better than any restaurant. My mother's dumplings are legendary in our family, Michael agreed. She only makes them for special occasions now. Then I'm honored, James said, directing a warm smile at Ji-yeon. Thank you for going to such trouble. It's no trouble to cook for appreciative eaters, Ji-yeon replied, visibly pleased by his reaction. As the meal progressed, the conversation flowed more naturally. Michael, initially reserved and watchful, gradually opened up as James asked thoughtful questions about his engineering studies and career plans. Actually, James said when Michael mentioned his interest in sustainable energy systems, the foundation I'm establishing is funding several projects in that area. If you're interested, I could put you in touch with the research team. They're always looking for bright engineering students for internships. Michael's eyes widened slightly. That would be amazing, but I wouldn't want any special treatment because of... He glanced at Lily, clearly unsure how to phrase it. Because of my relationship with your sister, James finished for him. I understand. The offer would be based solely on your qualifications, which I'm sure are excellent. The connection just means I can make an introduction, nothing more. The clarification seemed to satisfy Michael, who nodded appreciatively. In that case, I'd like that. Thank you. After dinner, as Ji-yeon insisted on serving tea in the living room despite Lily's offers to help clean up, James found himself seated beside Lily on the small sofa, their knees touching slightly. The simple contact felt both comforting and electric, a reminder of their connection even in this new context. Your family is wonderful, James murmured to her while Michael helped Ji-yeon bring out the tea set. Thank you for sharing them with me. They seem to like you too, Lily replied, having noticed her mother's approving glances and her brother's gradually warming demeanor. Even Michael, and he was prepared to be skeptical. As he should be, James said. He's protective of you. That's as it should be. When Ji-yeon and Michael returned with the tea, the conversation turned more serious. Ji-yeon, after pouring tea for everyone with practiced grace, addressed James directly. My daughter tells me you've offered her a position with your new foundation, she said, her expression thoughtful. And that it would include completing her education. James nodded, setting down his teacup. Yes. It's an opportunity one believes she's uniquely qualified for, given her own experience with interrupted education and her passion for literature and teaching. And this offer, it stands regardless of your personal relationship? Ji-yeon asked, getting straight to the point in a way that reminded Lily strongly of herself. Absolutely, James confirmed without hesitation. The foundation has an independent board that approves all major hires. Lily would be considered on her merits alone, which are substantial. Jian studied him for a long moment, then nodded, apparently satisfied. My daughter has sacrificed much for our family, she said, her voice softening. Her education, her dreams, years of her youth, all to support her mother and brother through difficult times. It is time she had a chance to pursue her own path. Mom, Lily began, touched and slightly embarrassed by her mother's candor. Jian held up a hand to stop her. Let me finish, daughter. It is a mother's privilege to speak plainly when her child's happiness is at stake. She turned back to James. My Lily is extraordinary, intelligent, compassionate, stronger than she knows. She deserves someone who sees these qualities, who values her for who she is, not what she does for a living or where she comes from. I couldn't agree more, James said, his eyes finding Lily's with a warmth that made her breath catch. Your daughter has shown me what true strength and grace look like. She's changed how I see the world and myself. I love her, Jian. It's that simple and that profound. The directness of his declaration, spoken not to Lily but to her mother, created a moment of stunned silence in the small living room. Michael looked between James and his sister with raised eyebrows, while Jian's expression softened into something like approval. Then you are welcome in our home, Jian said finally. And in our family should things continue in that direction. The blessing, for that's what it was, brought tears to Lily's eyes. She had worried so much about this meeting, about worlds colliding, about judgments and disapproval. Instead, she found understanding and acceptance from the people who mattered most to her. Later, as James prepared to leave, Michael pulled him aside for what appeared to be a serious conversation. Lily watched from the kitchen where she was helping her mother wash dishes, curious but respecting their privacy. What do you think they're talking about? She asked Ji-yun. Her mother smiled knowingly. Your brother is doing what brothers do, making sure this man's intentions are honorable. Oh God, Lily groaned. That's embarrassing. It's sweet, Ji-yun corrected. And necessary. Even billionaires need to know there are people looking out for you. When James finally joined Lily at the door to say goodnight, his expression was both amused and respectful. Your brother is quite protective, he commented. I'm sorry if he was inappropriate, Lily began. Not at all, James assured her. I respect him for it. You're lucky to have family who care so deeply about your happiness. As they stood in the doorway, reluctant to part, Lily felt a surge of gratitude for how the evening had unfolded. Thank you for tonight, she said. For coming here, for being so genuine with my family. Thank you for sharing them with me, James replied, reaching out to tuck a strand of hair behind her ear. They're wonderful. I see where you get your strength and warmth from. He leaned in and kissed her softly, a gentle goodnight that held promises of more to come. I'll call you tomorrow, he murmured. Maybe we can talk more about the foundation position? No pressure, just possibilities. I'd like that, Lily agreed. The offer had been on her mind all day, a chance to complete her education while helping others do the same, to build something meaningful and lasting. As she watched James walk down the hallway to the elevator, Lily felt a profound sense of standing at a threshold. Behind her was the life she had known, the struggles, the sacrifices, the careful management of limited resources. Ahead lay something new and unknown, full of both promise and uncertainty. When she closed the door and turned back to the apartment, she found her mother watching her with knowing eyes. He is a good man, Ji-yun said simply. Different from what I expected. Different how? Lily asked, curious about her mother's impressions. Ji-yun considered the question. He carries his wealth lightly, she finally said. It does not define him. And when he looks at you, she smiled. Well, no mother could ask for more than to see her daughter looked at with such love. The words warmed Lily deeply. Her mother's approval meant everything. Ji-yun had always been her strongest supporter, her wisest counsel. I love him, Mom, she admitted quietly. Even though it makes no logical sense. Even though our worlds are so different. The heart does not follow logic, Ji-yun replied, reaching out to pat Lily's cheek affectionately. And perhaps your worlds are not as different as they appear. You both value the same things, family, integrity, purpose beyond material success. Michael joined them, carrying the last of the dishes from the living room. He passed inspection, he announced with a grin. Though I did warn him what would happen if he ever hurt you. Michael. Lily groaned. You didn't. Of course I did. It's in the brother handbook. Michael set down the dishes and turned serious. But honestly, Lily, I like him. He doesn't act like he's better than us because of his money. He actually listened when I talked about my projects. Really listened, not just nodding politely. Coming from her skeptical, protective brother, this was high praise indeed. Lily felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Her family accepted James, saw in him what she saw, the genuine person beneath the wealth and fame. The next morning Lily woke to a text from James. Breakfast? I have news. They met at a quiet cafe near her apartment, one where they were unlikely to be recognized or photographed. James was already there when she arrived, a newspaper spread out on the table in front of him. Good morning, she said, sliding into the seat across from him. What's the news? In answer, James pushed the newspaper toward her. The business section featured a headline, Reed Enterprises Board approves new foundation, appoints independent directors. It's official, James explained, his eyes bright with excitement. The Second Chance Initiative has full funding and an independent board of directors, educators, community leaders, people with expertise in educational access and adult learning. That's wonderful, Lily said, genuinely happy for him. This foundation represented James's vision for a more meaningful contribution to the world, a return to his original mission of using technology to improve lives. There's more, James continued, pulling out a folder from his briefcase. The board has approved the first wave of hires, including the Director of Educational Pathways position we discussed. He slid a formal letter across the table. It was addressed to Lily on the foundation's letterhead, offering her the position they had discussed, with a salary that made her eyes widen and terms that included completing her own education while developing programs for others. This is a formal offer, James explained. From the board, not from me personally. They reviewed your work history, your academic record before you had to leave school, and the detailed proposal I submitted about your qualifications for this specific role. Lily stared at the letter, emotions swirling. It was everything she had dreamed of, a chance to finish her education, to build a meaningful career helping others overcome the same obstacles she had faced, to create something lasting and important. You don't have to decide right now, James assured her, misinterpreting her silence. Take time to think about it, discuss it with your family. I don't need time, Lily said, looking up with sudden clarity. I want this. Not because of us, not because of the money, but because it's work that matters. Work I believe in. The smile that spread across James's face was radiant. I was hoping you'd say that. The foundation needs you, your insight, your experience, your compassion. When would I start? Lily asked, practical concerns already beginning to form in her mind. She would need to give notice at the hotel, help her mother adjust to her new schedule, figure out how to balance work and school. The foundation officially launches in 2 weeks, James explained. But there's no rush for you to leave your current job until you're ready. We can work around your schedule initially. Lily shook her head, a decision crystallizing. No. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to commit fully. I'll give my 2 weeks notice today. The thought of leaving Hotel Monarch brought mixed emotions. The job had been her financial lifeline for years, providing stable income when her family needed it most. But it had also been limiting, keeping her trapped in a cycle of survival without growth or advancement. Are you sure? James asked, studying her face carefully. I'm sure, Lily confirmed, feeling a sense of liberation even as she said the words. It's time for a change. Time to build something new. James reached across the table to take her hand, his expression growing more serious. There's something else we should discuss. The media attention. Lily nodded, knowing this was an unavoidable reality of their relationship. The initial article had spawned others, creating a narrative of rags to riches romance that bore little resemblance to the genuine connection they had forged. My PR team has a suggestion, James continued. They think we should do one controlled interview, set the record straight, tell our story on our terms, then ask for privacy. It might help reduce the speculation and mischaracterization. The idea made Lily nervous. She was a private person by nature, uncomfortable with strangers dissecting her life and relationships. But she also saw the logic. Better to share their truth once than have others continue to spin fictional versions of their story. Who would do the interview? She asked. There's a journalist I trust, James replied. Someone who reports fairly, doesn't sensationalize. We would have final approval on the article before publication. Lily considered the proposal. All right, she agreed cautiously. One interview on our terms. But after that, our relationship is our business, not public entertainment. Agreed, James said with evident relief. I'll set it up for next week after you've given notice at the hotel. They spent the rest of breakfast discussing practical details. The foundation's first initiatives, Lily's educational plans, the logistics of transitioning from her current job to her new role. It felt surreal, this rapid shift from hotel maid to foundation director, from struggling to make ends meet to helping shape a multi-million-dollar educational initiative. Are you overwhelmed? James asked perceptively, noting her momentary silence. A little, Lily admitted. It's a lot of change very quickly. Good change, but still, it's an adjustment. James squeezed her hand. We'll take it one step at a time. And remember, you earned this position. Your experiences, your insights, your dedication, those are exactly what the foundation needs. You're not getting this opportunity because of our relationship. If anything, our relationship happened because I recognized those qualities in you. His words steadied her, reminding her of the strength he had always seen in her, even when she doubted herself. Thank you for believing in me, she said softly. Always, James promised. From that first day when I found you asleep in my hotel room, I knew there was something special about you, Lily Chin. I just didn't realize then how completely you would change my life. 2 weeks later, on Lily's last day at Hotel Monarch, she cleaned her final room with mixed emotions. Despite the difficulties and limitations of the job, it had been a constant in her life for years. She had made friends here, learned valuable lessons about people and work ethic, supported her family through the steady income it provided. As she was turning in her cleaning cart and uniform, Mr. Dawson, the hotel manager, asked to speak with her privately. Lily followed him to his office, wondering what final words he might have for her. Miss Chin, he began once they were seated, I understand you're leaving us to take a position with Mr. Reed's new foundation. Yes, Lily confirmed, keeping her tone professional. I'll be directing an educational initiative for adults returning to school. Mr. Dawson nodded, his expression unreadable. A significant advancement from housekeeping. Lily bristled slightly at his tone. I'm qualified for the position based on my personal experience and professional skills, she stated firmly. The foundation's board approved my appointment based on merit. To her surprise, Mr. Dawson's expression softened. I don't doubt that, Miss Chin. In fact, I owe you an apology. An apology? Lily repeated, caught off guard. Yes. When your relationship with Mr. Reed first came to light, I made assumptions about its nature and trajectory. I underestimated both you and him. He folded his hands on the desk. The interview you both gave last week made it clear that this is more substantial than I had believed possible. The interview had been published 3 days earlier. A thoughtful, honest account of how they had met and connected, James's vision for his foundation and Lily's role in it. It had focused on the genuine connection they had formed despite their different backgrounds, and their shared commitment to creating educational opportunities for those who had faced obstacles. Thank you for saying that, Lily replied, genuinely appreciative of the acknowledgement. Hotel Monarch would welcome you back should your circumstances ever change, Mr. Dawson added, extending his hand across the desk. You've been an exemplary employee. Lily shook his hand, recognizing the gesture for what it was. Not an expectation of her return, but a recognition of her value and contribution. Thank you for the opportunity to work here, she said sincerely. It helped my family through difficult times. As she left the hotel for the final time, Lily felt a chapter closing. The young woman who had started work here years ago, desperate, overwhelmed, focused solely on survival, was not the same woman who walked out today. Life's challenges had shaped her, yes, but so had its unexpected gifts and opportunities. James was waiting for her outside, leaning against his car with casual elegance. When he saw her emerge, he straightened, his face lighting up with a smile that still made her heart skip. Ready for your new beginning? He asked as she approached. Lily nodded, taking his offered hand. Ready. As they drove away from Hotel Monarch, Lily glanced back once at the gleaming building where everything had changed. It had started with an exhausted maid falling asleep in a billionaire's suite, a chance encounter that defied all odds and expectations. What had followed was something neither of them could have predicted. A connection that transcended backgrounds and circumstances, that saw beyond labels and status to the person beneath. Their story wasn't a fairy tale, despite what the media might claim. It was something better. Something real, built on mutual respect, shared values, and genuine love. There would be challenges ahead, adjustments to make, perceptions to overcome. But they would face them together, step by step, building a life that honored both their pasts while creating something new. What are you thinking about? James asked, noticing her thoughtful expression. Lily smiled, turning from the window to look at the man beside her. The man who had seen her when she was invisible to most of the world, who had valued her thoughts and dreams when others dismissed them. "I'm thinking about unexpected beginnings," she said, "and how sometimes the most unlikely moment can change everything." James reached for her hand, entwining their fingers as they drove toward the future they would build together. "The best stories often start that way," he replied. "Not with once upon a time, but with a single moment of connection that changes everything that follows." And as the city stretched out before them, Lily knew he was right. Their story wasn't ending, it was just beginning.